70% of people who come into money suddenly through lottery wins or inheritance or things like that, within a few years have gotten rid of all of it.
There's a reason it hasn't been working. You've done it all. The vision boards, the affirmations, the journal entries poured out like love letters to the universe. Dear universe, I am ready, taped to your mirror. The guided meditations, the lucky crystals tucked in your wallet, the money mindset podcasts humming in your ears as you drift off to sleep. You've shown up. You've done the rituals. You've whispered the mantras with hope in your heart. And yet, the bank account stays low. The stress still lingers. That dream of financial peace, it feels just out of reach, like something other people get to have. But not you. Not yet. Listen to the signal for abundance. Pause. Breathe. You haven't failed. You haven't been ignored. You've just been manifesting money the wrong way. Not wrong in a moral sense. Not wrong because you're unworthy or broken. Wrong in the way a radio dial is off by one frequency. You've been tuned to I want, while the signal for abundance lives on I already am. That slight misalignment changes everything. Because here's the truth no one ever told you. Money is energy, not paper, not numbers on a screen, not hours clocked or tasks completed. Energy, vibration, flow. And energy doesn't respond to begging. It responds to belief, to resonate, to align. So if you're ready, let's start over. But this time, we're not reaching out. We're turning inward. Because money isn't something you chase. It's something you allow. And you're about to remember how to let it in. In many ancient cultures, money, or the energy we now call money, was never treated as something to hoard. In Taoist philosophy, it was known that wealth was like water. It had to flow, or it would stagnate. In Vedic teachings, Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance, only came to those whose hearts were open and who treated her presence with joy, not desperation. In early African traditions, the tribe shared resources not out of obligation, but out of recognition. What flows through me flows to me. Generosity was wealth. Circulation created power. These old teachings knew something modern minds forgot. The energy of money is shaped by your relationship with it. So what's yours? Question your relationship with money. Do you see money as something that always runs away? Something that only comes through hard labor or struggle? Something you must fight for, chase down, and worry about constantly? Then that's the vibration you're sending out, and energy listens. You say you want money, but deep down, you resent it, or you fear it, or you believe you're not good with it. You still carry the guilt your parents had about spending, or the shame society placed on wanting more. So your relationship with money becomes like a lover who's always misunderstood. It shows up awkwardly, briefly, and then leaves. But imagine this instead. Imagine money as a friend, a warm, curious, powerful presence who wants to hang around. Would you chase that friend down the street shouting, "Why aren't you here yet? When are you coming back?" Would you judge them the second they arrived and ask, "How long are you staying?" Of course not. You'd create a space for them. You'd speak kindly. You'd be generous and relaxed. That's the energy that welcomes money in. And yes, money is energy, but so are you. You're a magnetic being, whether you realize it or not. Your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, they're all signals. Every time you look at your bank account with dread, you're sending out a signal. Every time you make a purchase with guilt or undercharge your services, or say, "I can't afford that," you're tuning your energy to lack. You're holding the door open for scarcity to walk right back in. But what if you shifted that? Not by faking it, but by choosing a new baseline. What if, just for a moment, You acted like abundance was your natural state. What if you trusted that money was meant to flow through you the same way breath does? Because it is. Let's go deeper. There's a parable from the Sufi mystics. A man searches his whole life for treasure. He travels across deserts, climbs mountains, and dives into oceans, all in search of something he believes is far away. After years of searching, broke and tired, he returns home to rest. One night, in a dream, a voice whispers, "The treasure you've been searching for is buried beneath your own house." He wakes up, digs under his home, and finds gold. That's not just a nice story. That's the map. You've been taught to think money is something out there, something you earn by working hard or proving your worth. But the truth is, the treasure has always been inside you. The energy of abundance is your natural state. It's just been buried under fear, shame, and inherited beliefs that don't belong to you. And now you're ready to uncover it, not by digging harder, but by releasing the weight, by shifting from "how do I get more" to "how do I let it in?" Because when your energy lines up with the truth of your worth, money can't help but respond. It's like the magnet has finally been polished. The signal is finally clear. You don't have to fake confidence. You remember it. You don't have to pretend to be rich. You realign with wealth. You don't have to chase energy. You become it. But for now, sit with this. Money doesn't want you to suffer. It doesn't punish. It doesn't hide. It simply responds. And the moment you begin to treat it like the sacred energy it is, your entire relationship with it will shift. You'll stop chasing. You'll start receiving, not from a place of lack, but from a place of power. Because the truth is, money wants to be with you. It always has. And now you're finally ready to say yes. So turn to the night sky and listen. The stars already knew. Astrology, energy, and your wealth flow. There's something ancient written in the stars about the way money moves. Before we even had banks or credit cards or dollar bills, we had the sky. We had planets that shimmered through the night, each one carrying a specific kind of energy. The ancient astrologers believed that these wandering lights were not just distant rocks, but living forces. They didn't just orbit above us, they mirrored what was happening within us. And for those who paid attention, they offered guidance not just for survival, but for prosperity. And guess what? Those stars still speak, and they've always known that money is energy. You don't have to be an expert in astrology to feel what I'm about to say. Have you ever felt a sudden shift in your life, like things were flowing, people were calling, unexpected money appeared, and then suddenly everything dried up again? You might have thought it was luck or just a coincidence, but in spiritual systems like astrology, those waves often line up with planetary movements. Let's take Venus, for example. In astrology, Venus doesn't just rule love and beauty, she governs money, pleasure, and value. When Venus is strong in your chart, or when she's moving through a part of the sky that touches your financial life, you may notice money flowing easily. You feel magnetic, desirable. You spend joyfully and receive without guilt. You don't chase, you attract. But when does Venus go retrograde? That's when things feel stuck. Old money wounds come up. Spending becomes impulsive or dry. It's not a punishment. It's an invitation to pause, look within, and heal. Astrology teaches us that money is not something random. It's tied to rhythms, energy fields, and your own unique emotional landscape. In fact, your birth chart, the map of the stars the moment you were born, is already telling your money story. The planets speak to the kind of energy you carry around abundance. And here's the wild part, that energy is always shifting, always responding to you. Just like you don't force the moon to be full, you don't have to force abundance. You align with it. You honor the seasons of your life, the phases of your energy, the moods of the cosmos. You stop blaming yourself for dry spells and start asking what energy needs to be balanced. You begin to understand what the mystics always said, as above, so below. Let's talk about Jupiter, the planet of expansion. In both astrology and ancient mythology, Jupiter is the great benefactor. When he touches your financial houses, doors open, opportunities appear, abundance feels natural. But Jupiter doesn't reward those who try to control everything. He rewards belief, trust, optimism. His energy says, if you believe something greater is possible, I'll meet you there. So when you're doubting your ability to attract money, when you feel heavy or panicked, ask yourself, are you still trying to manifest from fear? Or are you letting yourself move into Jupiter's world of possibility? When you stop seeing money as a monster and start seeing it as a mirror, everything begins to change. You realize your fear of not having enough isn't about money. It's about not trusting yourself, not believing you're held, not believing you're supported by the same universe that turns tides, spins planets, and breathes life into stars. In Vedic astrology, money is also linked to your karma, not as a punishment, but as an energetic memory. The energy you put out into the world, the generosity, the gratitude, the openness, creates ripples that eventually find their way back to you. But not on your schedule, not always in the way you expect. Sometimes you plant seeds and harvest them lifetimes later. Sometimes the seed was planted by your grandmother and you're the one meant to reap the reward. When we align with this understanding, we stop demanding and start receiving. And we realize that receiving is not about luck. It's a skill, a vibration, a sacred act. Receiving without guilt, without apology, without needing to prove anything, that's the real challenge. And it's also where the magic happens. There's a story in astrology about the North Node and South Node, points on the chart that show your past life energy and your soul's direction. If your South Node is connected to scarcity, poverty, or martyrdom, you may feel more comfortable in struggle. Even if you say you want wealth, your energy is still tuned to survival mode. It's what you know. But your North Node? That's the direction your soul wants to grow into. If it sits in a sign or house connected to abundance, luxury, or expression, then guess what? You came here to learn how to receive, how to thrive, how to stop playing small and let yourself shine. This isn't wishful thinking. This is written in your soul's map. And that's why money doesn't respond to effort alone. It responds to energy. When you wake up each morning and check your bank account with dread, you're broadcasting a signal of fear. When you spend your last few dollars on something you love, and you do it with joy, you're signaling trust. When you take a deep breath and say, I am open to receive, you shift the entire frequency of your being. Money listens, not just to your words, but to your state, to your breath, to your willingness to let go of control and tune into flow. Right now, the planets are always moving. Energy is always shifting. You're not stuck, and you never have been. You just haven't been taught how to dance with the rhythms. But once you do, once you start to live with the current instead of against it, money will find you in the strangest, most beautiful ways. Unexpected refunds, random gifts, a client who was thinking of you, a job that values your soul, a check in the mail that you forgot about, a friend who says, I've been meaning to pay you back. This is how the universe winks. This is how the stars say, you're on the right path. In the next part, we'll go even deeper. We'll talk about how money trauma, personal and ancestral, blocks the flow and how to clear it. But for now, take a moment, close your eyes. Picture yourself as a constellation. Your thoughts, your heart, your dreams aligned with the sky, shining, ready. There's a reason why money feels so hard to attract sometimes, and it's not because you're lazy, unworthy, or bad with numbers. It's because your mind has been trained to keep money out. That might sound strange. After all, why would your own brain work against you? Why would a part of you block the very thing you say you want? But this is where one of the most famous psychological studies in the world can help us understand the hidden patterns running the show. Let's talk about a study from the 1960s. The Marshmallow Experiment. In this study, a researcher named Walter Mischel sat a child down in a room and placed a marshmallow in front of them. He told them they could eat the marshmallow now or wait 15 minutes and get 2 marshmallows. Then he left the room. Some kids waited, some didn't. But the really interesting part came years later when researchers followed up with these kids. The ones who had waited, who had resisted the urge for instant pleasure, grew up to have better health, more success, and yes, more money. Why? Because they had something called delayed gratification, the ability to wait for something better instead of grabbing the first thing that shows up. They trusted the reward would come. They weren't in survival mode, and that trust changed their entire future. Now think about your own relationship with money. Were you raised to feel like there's always not enough? Did you grow up watching adults panic about bills or say things like, money doesn't grow on trees? Were you taught to chase it, fear it, beg for it, or believe that only certain people could have it? If so, your brain might still be stuck in get the marshmallow now mode, even if you say you want to attract more. This isn't your fault. It's how survival thinking works. And most of us are carrying the emotional leftovers of money trauma passed down from parents, grandparents, maybe even generations back. They had to survive. They had to scramble. And now you feel guilty even imagining a life of overflow. But this is where everything changes. Because the mind is not fixed. It's trainable. You can teach it a new story. And when you do, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, money listens. Let's go back to the marshmallow for a second. Some of the children who waited didn't do it because they were more disciplined. They did it because they were raised in homes where promises were kept, where trust was normal. Waiting didn't feel scary. In other words, their environment shaped their belief that something better would come. You can shape that belief too, right now. It starts with a simple question. Do I believe money will come if I let go of control? Not just logically, not just on a vision board, but deep in your body, in your breath. Do you feel safe receiving? Many of us don't. We feel guilty. We over-explain. We work extra hard to earn it. Or we spend it right away because it feels too uncomfortable to hold on to. But receiving is a spiritual practice. It's a form of trust. And sometimes it means sitting in the room with the marshmallow, choosing not to panic, choosing not to grab, and whispering to yourself, I am not in lack. I am in flow. Something greater is coming. Psychology and spirituality meet in these quiet moments of choice. Another study, less famous but just as powerful, looked at people who felt abundant even when they had very little. These people weren't rich on paper, but they were rich in emotion. They believed in generosity. They gave thanks constantly. They smiled. They blessed their food, their homes, their wallets, even when those wallets were nearly empty. And here's what's wild. Over time, many of those people did attract more money. Not through some magic trick, but because their energy made them magnetic. People wanted to be around them, help them, work with them, give to them. Their energy said, I already have enough. I already am enough. And that belief rewired their brain to spot more opportunities, take braver steps, and hold money when it came. Money doesn't just land where there's effort. It lands where there's safety. That's why you need to train your nervous system to feel safe in abundance. That might mean breathing slowly when a bill arrives, or practicing gratitude even before the money hits your account, or blessing someone else's success instead of resenting it. Every small choice tells your body, we're not in danger anymore, it's safe to believe. Let's bring in a spiritual parable here. There's a story of a man who prayed every day to God, asking to win the lottery. Every morning he begged, pleaded, and cried, but weeks passed and nothing happened. Finally, one night the sky opened and a voice said, "My child, buy a ticket." This story is funny, but also deeply true. Manifesting money isn't just about sitting still and wishing. It's about aligning your energy and taking aligned steps. Buying the ticket, showing up for the opportunity, saying yes to the unexpected check, the new idea, the thing you almost said no to out of fear. But none of that can happen if your brain is still caught in old loops of lack. So let's shift those loops. Start by catching the thought that says, "I'll never have enough." Pause. Don't argue with it. Just say, "That's an old story. I'm writing a new one now." Train your brain like you'd train a muscle, gently, daily, with love. Remember, those kids who waited for the second marshmallow didn't do it because they were better. They just believed something better would come. That belief shaped their future. Your future is being shaped right now too. Your brain is powerful. Your beliefs are loud, and money hears everything you think you deserve. Train your mind to trust, and soon the marshmallow will be the least of what you're given. How to use your mind and spirit to attract real wealth without chasing it. Let's get practical now. Up until this point, you've learned something vital. Money is energy. You've seen how your thoughts, emotions, and deep beliefs create the reality you live in. You've also begun to understand how your nervous system either opens or closes the doors to wealth, depending on how safe it feels receiving. But now you might be wondering, how do I actually use all this to attract more money into my life? You don't have to become someone else. You don't need to suddenly be fearless or completely healed. The version of you reading this right now is already enough. You just need tools, simple spiritual and mental practices that align you with the frequency of money. Let's start with one of the most powerful tools of all, mental rehearsal. Think of it like this. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. If the emotion behind the thought is strong enough, this is why you can cry during a movie or feel nervous before a job interview that hasn't even happened. Your body believes what you feel. So what would happen if every morning you rehearsed, just for a few minutes, what it would feel like to already have the money? Close your eyes, see your bank account full, hear your phone buzz with a new payment, feel the softness of your bed, knowing it's paid for, taste the food you'd eat, smell the fresh air from a trip you finally booked. Anchor your senses into the reality you're calling in. This isn't just daydreaming, this is spiritual training. It tunes your energy into the state of already having. And money loves that, because money doesn't respond to begging or fear. It responds to readiness. When you mentally rehearse wealth daily, you start noticing opportunities. You speak with more confidence, you make clearer choices. People feel the shift in you, and money does too. Next, speak to your money, literally. This might sound silly, but many ancient traditions believed that everything has a spirit. The Chinese philosophy of feng shui teaches that money has its own energy, and you must treat it with care and respect. The Egyptians offered gold not because they worshipped wealth, but because they believed it carried divine light. So try this. When money comes into your life, no matter how small, say thank you out loud. Say it like you would to a friend. Thank you for coming to me. I'm ready for more. When you spend, bless the money as it leaves. Thank you for going out with joy. Bring back more of your friends. You're not being crazy, you're being connected. This builds a relationship, and relationships grow when they're honored. Think about how most people treat money, with fear, shame, stress, or even silence. But you're doing something radical. You're loving money as a form of light, not lack. Another key practice is clearing space. Spiritually, clutter blocks flow. If you're holding on to clothes you never wear, files you never open, or subscriptions you don't even use, that's stuck energy. And money doesn't like stuck energy. You don't need to become a minimalist. Just ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer reflects the life I'm calling in? Maybe it's a wallet falling apart, or old receipts stuffed into drawers. Maybe it's emotional clutter, bitterness about a past job, or guilt about spending. Take one small action today to release something. Burn a letter, give something away, cancel a thing you don't love. Each act says to the universe, I'm serious about receiving. I'm making room. Let's talk about forgiveness too. This might seem unrelated to money, but it's not. When you carry resentment, especially toward people who owe you or treated you unfairly about money, that energy weighs you down. It ties you to the very patterns you want to escape. Forgiveness doesn't mean you excuse the behavior. It means you free yourself from the chain. There's a Hawaiian practice called Ho'oponopono that helps with this. It's simple. You just repeat the words, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Say it to your past. Say it to your bank account. Say it to the people who hurt you, even if only in your heart. It softens the fear, and soft hearts receive more easily than hard ones. One of the most overlooked tactics for attracting money is joy. Money follows joy like bees follow flowers. Not forced joy, not fake positivity, but real, glowing, belly-laughing joy. Do you give yourself permission to enjoy things that don't earn money? Or have you been stuck in the loop that says you must prove your worth first? Here's a secret. Joy is proof. It tells the universe you believe in beauty, fun, and overflow, and that makes you a magnet. So make joy your job. Dance, paint, make weird videos, take slow walks, eat what makes you smile, laugh with people you love. These aren't distractions, they're alignment tools, because when you're in joy, you're in flow, and when you're in flow, you're in sync with abundance. You can also create something powerful called a wealth anchor. This is a small object, photo, or word that reminds you of your money goals, but not in a stressful way, in a calm, sacred way. Some people wear a bracelet, others carry a crystal, others write a number on a sticky note and keep it in their wallet. Pick something that means wealth to you, not what social media says wealth looks like, but what you imagine when you think of freedom, softness, ease. Hold it when you feel scared. Speak to it. Charge it with intention. This isn't superstition. It's giving your energy a home. Finally, understand this. You don't need to be perfect to receive. There's no test to pass, no quiz to ace, no final level to beat before you're allowed to be wealthy. You're allowed now. This is perhaps the most practical spiritual shift of all, knowing you don't have to earn love, support, or money by struggling. You just have to align, and you align through daily choice. Not one big leap, but moment after moment of turning toward the flow. But for now, remember, every time you imagine, bless, forgive, clear, or enjoy, you're not just thinking differently, you're becoming a new version of you, and that version is magnetic to wealth, to ease, to everything. Confront your ancestral money wounds. You've probably felt it before, an invisible weight, a quiet voice in the back of your mind whispering, money is hard to keep, or you're not someone who ever gets rich, or worse, you're not good with money, so don't even try. What if I told you that those words may not even be yours? What if they've been passed down through bloodlines, through generations of struggle and silence, through the quiet kitchen tables where money was only ever talked about in terms of lack or danger or debt? You may be trying to manifest abundance, but doing so while carrying a story that was never written by you. This is what we call ancestral money wounds. And even if your bank account doesn't reflect them, your nervous system probably does. These inherited beliefs about money are often soaked in fear and survival. Imagine being a child and watching your mother cry over unpaid bills, or hearing your father shout that there's never enough, or growing up hearing that people with money are selfish or corrupt. You absorb all of that like a sponge. Not just the words, but the emotions, the tension in the room, the tightness in the body, the fear in the silence. And then you grow up, and you try to attract wealth, and you wonder why it feels so unsafe, so hard, so foreign. It's because you are trying to plant new seeds in soil that still remembers a drought. Many cultures understand this on a deeper level. In African spiritual systems like Ifa, the ancestors are honored not only for their wisdom, but also for their pain. You don't just inherit their gifts, you inherit their grief. In Chinese culture, offerings are made during festivals like Qingming to feed and calm the spirits of the dead, to help restore balance between the living and those who came before. And in many indigenous teachings, healing yourself is healing 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. So when you sit down and decide that you will no longer be afraid of money, you're not being selfish, you're being sacred. You're reaching your hand back into the past and saying, it stops with me, and that is holy work. There's also a psychological angle to all this that confirms what mystics have always known. Carl Jung spoke about the collective unconscious, deep mental patterns shared across families, cultures, even civilizations. If your grandparents lived through war, or your parents through economic collapse, those memories can pass down not just through stories, but biologically, stored in the nervous system like shadows that haven't found light yet. You don't need to know the exact story to feel its echo. Maybe money burns a hole in your pocket because your great-grandmother never had a chance to keep hers. Maybe you sabotage your success because someone in your line was punished for shining too bright too soon. Maybe you feel guilty when money comes easily because your ancestors had to bleed for every coin. Break the scarcity cycle. So, how do we break the cycle? We begin by noticing. Noticing when you hear a voice that says, I can't charge more for my work, or we're just not that kind of family, or I should be grateful for what I have and not ask for more. Notice that voice without blaming it. It may have kept someone in your line alive, but survival is no longer your ceiling. You were not born to repeat the patterns. You were born to rewire them. Some people find healing through prayer, others through journaling, meditation, or ancestral altars. But no matter the form, the intention is the same, to tell your body, your blood, your spirit, that it's safe to hold wealth now, safe to receive, safe to keep, safe to grow. This is where deep spiritual practice becomes practical power, because when you start feeling safe with money, you stop chasing it in panic. You start inviting it with ease. Remember, there is a kind of wealth that doesn't show up in your bank account right away. It shows up first in your breath, in your calmness, in the steadiness of your decisions. This is spiritual wealth. This is the kind that builds foundations. This is the kind that can hold millions when they come, because they will come. You are opening the gates. As you walk this path, you'll notice your inner landscape shifting. You'll start making different choices, not from fear, but from faith. You'll start speaking about money, not as a problem to be solved, but as a friend returning home. You'll no longer feel guilty for wanting more, because you'll understand that your abundance doesn't steal from anyone. It overflows, it blesses, it lifts others too. That's the beauty of healing ancestral wounds. You're not just manifesting for you. You're planting trees your descendants will sit under. You're weaving a new myth. You're rewriting your bloodline. And if at any point you feel the fear creeping back in, remember this: your ancestors lived through things you can't even imagine. They survived so you could thrive. You're not betraying them by becoming wealthy. You're honoring their prayers. You're fulfilling their dreams. You're turning their pain into peace. And now you'll learn how to motivate your body to create abundance. Physical energy creates abundance. Your body knows the truth long before your mind catches up. It is the most honest part of you, the place where all emotions are stored, where old stories live in the tightness of your shoulders, in the clenching of your jaw, in the restless tapping of your fingers when you think about money. If you've ever felt a knot in your stomach when you had to pay a bill, or a rush of anxiety when someone asked you your rates, you already know this. Your body holds the key to your relationship with wealth. And if you want to shift your outer world, you must begin with the inner, not the mind, the body. Wealth is not only attracted through belief, it is also attracted through vibration, not the kind that floats out of thin air, but the kind that lives in your breath, your spine, your nervous system. If you want to live in the energy of abundance, your body has to feel safe receiving it. That's where most people miss the mark. They set intentions, make vision boards, recite affirmations, but their bodies are still frozen in survival mode. Their hearts are racing, their breath is shallow, their muscles are bracing for something to go wrong. And so no matter how much they ask for, life responds not to their words, but to their frequency. You cannot fake safety in the body. You have to build it, slowly, gently, through rituals that remind your nervous system that abundance is not a threat, that receiving does not mean danger. It is okay to rest, that you are allowed to feel joy without waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is where movement becomes a spiritual practice. This is where walking barefoot on the earth becomes an act of wealth, where stretching your spine in the morning becomes a declaration, I am not afraid of expansion. In Taoist belief, qi, or life force, flows freely through the body when it is aligned, when breath and movement are in harmony. When qi is blocked, life becomes effortful. When it flows, prosperity becomes effortless. Your breath is the first place to look. If it's tight and high in your chest, if you forget to exhale fully, that's your body clinging, holding, bracing. But when you drop your breath down into your belly, when you allow your whole ribcage to expand, your whole frequency shifts. You are no longer a clenched fist, you are an open palm. You are not grasping, you are receiving. Certain somatic practices, like shaking, dancing, or even humming, can help discharge old scarcity patterns from the body. Indigenous cultures have known this for centuries. They use rhythm, movement, and sound to realign with nature's flow. And this flow, it's the same flow of money that lives in. That's why you'll notice that some of the wealthiest people, real wealth, not just money, move through the world with a different kind of presence. They're not rushed, they're not hunched. They walk like they belong, and they do. You do too. The body is also the bridge between what you believe and what you create. You can believe in abundance all day long, but if your body is still operating in lack, you'll self-sabotage without meaning to. You'll underprice yourself. You'll delay opportunities. You'll avoid looking at your finances because part of you is still convinced that wealth isn't safe. This is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to shift. And you can shift. You were born knowing how. Think of children. They run, dance, and ask for what they want without shame. They rest when they're tired, laugh when they're joyful, and cry when they're upset. Their bodies are honest, their energy is clear, and abundance flows to them without resistance. It's only later that we learn to hide, to hold back, to be careful not to want too much. But your body remembers, and it can return to that state of natural magnetism, not by force, but by softness. One of the most powerful ways to align with abundance is through sensuality, not just in the romantic sense, but in the broader, fuller experience of the senses. When you taste your food instead of rushing it, when you feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, when you smell your favorite candle and let yourself really enjoy it. These are not luxuries, they are activations. They remind your body that there is more than enough time, more than enough beauty, more than enough joy, and that too is wealth. Even your posture tells a story. Shoulders back, chest open, eyes lifted. This is the posture of someone who trusts life, who expects to be supported, who does not shrink from blessings. Compare that to hunched shoulders, eyes downcast, arms crossed in front of the chest. That's a body protecting itself. That's a body saying, I don't feel safe. This is not about shame, it's about awareness. Because once you see how your body responds to money, you can begin to shift the pattern. Let your physical space reflect the wealth you want to feel. It doesn't have to be expensive. It has to be intentional. Clean your home with love. Light a candle. Wear clothes that make you feel held. Play music that moves your spirit. When your environment feels abundant, your body begins to trust that it's okay to feel that way too. And when your body trusts, the universe does too. In yogic philosophy, the body is not a barrier to enlightenment. It is the vehicle, the temple, the access point. The same is true in the manifestation of wealth. You are not a mind trying to convince the world you're worthy. You are a full-body expression of that worth. And when you treat your body like it's already living in the frequency of wealth, because in many ways it is, the world begins to reflect that truth back to you. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to justify pleasure. You don't have to fear stillness. These are not distractions from your path. They are the path, because a body that feels safe becomes a channel, and money loves a clear channel. It flows to it, through it. It trusts it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.